Thank you, sir.
Okay, it is February 6th, 2023, and it is approximately 11 p.m. I'm sorry for the delay in technical difficulties. I am going to call the building codes committee to order. All council members, committee members are present, as well as David Deerhog, the PDS director, and Seth Duncan, our city administrator. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, what do I hear on reading and approval of the minutes?
Move for approval, Mr. Lieutenant. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of November 7th, say aye.
Aye.
All right, do we have any reports, Mr. Deerhog?
Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. The only report I'll provide you tonight is just, first of all, an indication that we're watching our new home permits kind of as an indicator of where development is going in our community. And we've seen now 2 months in a row that our new home permits are back up kind of on the same levels they were around the peak time of COVID. So right now, the indicators are that we're continuing to see growth in the city and that the housing, the home building industry is not suffering in Mauldin at the moment. It's also kind of in line with the projections we received from the builders this past month on what they expect to pull permit wise this year and next year. They're both expecting, or in both years, they're expecting to pull a lot of permits. So should they do what they're forecasting, will be kind of record years for the number of new homes built in Mauldin. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it. We're also just on the business side of things, for January. And all there were 18 new businesses that received licenses. 11 of those are businesses that have physical locations in the city. So we're glad to see that growth that we're still receiving in our community. That's the report that I have for you tonight. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer that.
Thank you. Any questions?
Have you seen any, as you mentioned, the new home permits are still rocking and rolling. Is there been any shifts with the types of housing that you're seeing?
It's all largely still either the small lot detached single family or townhomes. That's the majority of what we're seeing. We did have a little bit of a lull from September through November, but where we didn't issue very many permits, not like we've been used to, but it's ratcheting back up. Thank you.
Further. All right, there's no unfinished business, and we do have new business, which is an ordinance to repeal zoning ordinance number 2021-991, which is in your packet. Mr. Deerhog, would you like to introduce this?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Staff was asked to put this on the agenda. This involves a couple of properties at 513 North Main Street. You might recall that the city just over a year ago rezoned some of that. Formerly, the properties were zoned C2 at the front, and in the back was zoned R15. And at the time we rezoned it, we still kept C2 on the front, although we just minorly kind of shifted the boundaries so that C2 and in the back of the rezone to RM1. That was primarily done to make way for a townhome community. You may recall that. But it had been requested of staff to put this back on the agenda to consider repealing that rezoning ordinance. And thinking the reason being is because when that was rezoned, there was some conceptual drawings that were shown at the time, and that does not seem to be taken out as far as how that front part is gonna be developed and, I think the thinking was that the reason it was rezoned for the townhomes in the back was because this council and community really liked the commercial development that was kind of conceived at the time when it was requested to be rezoned. But since it's not looking like it's going to be developed that way, council members may want to reconsider that. So that's what you have tonight. The developer wanted to be here, but he is not available tonight. And so he would like though to get your audience at some time to give you an update on how the development of these two tracks are proceeding and what kind of obstacles they run into, how they're working around these things. Just overall where they're at with their project. So wanted to say that on his behalf so that you can entertain it. Well,
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Darrell?
David, if we were to hold this in committee, would he be able to be here next month to have that discussion?
I haven't reviewed the particulars of the dates, but he would probably like that.
No, I don't want, frankly, I appreciate you putting this up because I want us to send the signal that we're not going to be subject to bait and switch. And that our job as council members elected by the residents of the city of Mauldin is to do what's right for the city of Mauldin. But that being said, if there's a discussion that can be had, I would like to hear what he has to say, frankly, before we take action. So, Madam Chair, at the appropriate time, I would need to hold this in committee until we can hear from the developer on what his plans and challenges and opportunities are with this project.
Have any questions?
Good.
All right, want to make your motion?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we hold this in committee until such time, hopefully next month, that we can have a presentation from the developer to inform us the status of the project.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I do have a concern, I think, because we were told in the beginning they would work towards sort of changing the, I guess, the route from Knollwood through that little development that they were considering, and then lining it up with Murray Drive, and then hopefully having a traffic light there. I guess my concern is that now that the building that was going to go on the front is not now going there, or maybe doesn't sound like it is, that we will not be getting that road realignment, which is bothersome to me, but anyway, that's all the discussion that I had anyway. All right, all in favor of holding this in committee until next month when the developer can be here, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's. Motion passes. All right, any public comments? Hearing none, committee concerns. Hearing none, what do I hear on adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned at 6:20 p.m.
Okay, we'll call the next meeting to order. It's at 6:21 for the Recreation Committee meeting. Mr. Matney and myself are in attendance, as well as Mr. Conlander, the Recreation Director, and Mr. Duncan, the City Administrator. Mr. Reynolds sent his regards, he cannot be here this evening. For starters, is there any public comment? Either online or here in chambers? Hearing none, we have the reading and approval of the minutes.
Move for approval is submitted.
I will second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have reports from Calendar.
Thank you, so good. Just a couple things real quickly. Basketball is finishing up. We'll be hosting the district continue. Also, we'll be hosting continue state in boys. Basketball, that will be the first weekend of March. The districts are the last week in February. Also, some of our CIP projects have about to be completed or getting ready to start. Our fencing out Sunset Park, you just saw that in the last week. It's about 95% completed. The other CIP project we have going on is our cameras going on at the Sports Center. They'll be starting that project in probably the next 20 to 30 days, and that will just cover the outside of the Sports Center and the inside of the Sports Center. Still have money in the budget to do the senior center, and we've done a pretty good job. Matthew's helped us out with the cameras for that. Hopefully, we might have enough money in there to do if we have the capability of putting cameras around the picnic shelter and city center there. All our sports programs are still going on as far as signups. We'll start those practices probably the last week of February. Again, the first week of March, we talk Public Works. They're getting the field ready for us as we speak. And so we'll have the signups are still going on. So we're extending signup. People kind of always wait the last moment to do that. And Sports Center's going good. Numbers are going up in our Sports Center, also with our senior center, with our classes, senior classes, cardio and line dancing at the senior center is really increased. Also, again, our Sports Center on Saturday mornings it's pretty jamming there. We got Survivor of the Fittest basketball and people working out, so it's a lady giving a hard time for having to walk a little bit, and then she got on the treadmill, so that's all good. But that's all I have. That's all I have any questions for myself.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Any questions? You want to stay there? I think we have no unfinished business. We have new business, which is regarding the Sports Center free and reduced membership fee. Whether that is Mr. Duncan or Mr. Cunningham, if you guys would mind briefing us on the latest here.
It's probably about the same as last month. We kind of tweaked it a little bit, not much, and so it's kind of again get some feedback from you guys. So kind of what do you want to do with some of the free folks that are coming, the retired employees? We'll check 20 years some feedback on that. The elected officials with 20 years of credit. Feedback on that. Right now we have a 50% discount. We don't offer anything now for those folks. Well, we do for the elected officials, not last retirement. So just some direction from you guys on where we need to go.
Mr. Duncan, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, sir. A couple items. There was the language that is in the packet tonight is kind of a codification of all the previous meetings up to this point to kind of flesh this out to the point where council is ready to move forward. There were a few, maybe some additional potential tweaks to the language just for clarification purposes. If you'd like me, I could run through those real quick if you'd like, or okay. Okay, so under free membership with the second bullet point there, inserting after the word all, actively serving. So it would read all actively serving elected city officials and appointed members of city boards, commissions. And then under eligible employees, elected officials, 50% discount. It would be for both bullet points, adding the phrase or more after the credible service, the years of credible service to kind of encapsulate that it's including everyone of 20 years plus. And then on the final bullet point, adding the word at the beginning to say former elected officials of 20 years of credible service to the city of Mauldin. And that's it.
What's the pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would also move that in the second bullet point under 50% membership discount, again, for consistency's sake, that we reword that bullet so that it's family members of full-time, part-time, and how did you phrase the elected officials, actively serving elected officials
Yes, sir.
of the city, and families of actively serving elected officials of the city of Mauldin, just to keep everything consistent with the rest of the membership tiers.
Thank you. Would you like to put any of that into a motion, Mr. Matney?
So moved.
I will second that on favor, well, I'll say that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, any further discussion?
Just
Yes.
for a point of clarification, Councilmember Matney, did you intend on the modification to the 50% membership discount to succinctly say city officials, elected officials, or are you incorporating the city boards and commission family members as well?
That should have been the actively serving city boards, commissions, and
Okay.
elected officials for
The whole thing.
consistency's sake.
Got it. Okay.
And if I need to make a motion to amend again, I certainly can do that.
If you feel it's necessary, we know what we're doing.
I feel I understand what we're going for, so we'll incorporate all of that language.
There's a lot of things there, so.
Yes.
But I think we've got it all figured out, all actively serving elected city officials. When we talk about family members, we're encompassing everyone.
Everybody in that group.
Under that we talk about, and then of course, 20 years or more. That's how I understood it. Okay. Cool, hopefully,
So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I would move that we forward the policy as amended to full council for consideration and approval.
I will second that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, we'll go to full council. Thank you, Mr. Conley, thank you, Mr. Duncan. There is no unfinished, any second public comment period. Is there any public comments here in the chambers or online?
No, sir.
Hearing none, any committee concerns? Hearing none, what do we say on adjournments?
So moved.
I will second that. All in favor for adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:29. Next up is public safety.
Do you have your packet?
I printed it out.
Okay.
It's all good.
You're okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
I think this is the menu, but it's not. Good. Well, I'm about to turn it.
That thing we talked about last week. I got a copy of the thing we talked about last week.
Okay.
So I'll give it to you, whether tonight or I'll bring it to you. in the morning.
Okay. So many.
Mhm. Did not make it.
All right, I will call to order the third committee meeting, February 6th, which is public safety. It is 6:30 p.m. Present are myself, Mr. Paling, and Mr. Allgood, members of the committee, as well as our city administrator and the chiefs and our clerk of court. Okay, that was enough. First, public comment. Do we have any online?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Seeing none in council chambers, we'll move to reading and approval of the minutes from December fifth, as we did not meet last month. Pleasure committee.
Motion to approve as submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Craylon, have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any corrections or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from December the fifth, say aye. Aye, none opposed, motion carried unanimously. Moving on to our reports from our city officers, Chief McCollum, you're up first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. As for the budget update, we're where we need to be. We're still over budget on that one line item for maintenance due to the accident. I'm going to give you an update. I don't know if y'all haven't seen it on Facebook. We'll end up painting Station 2. I thank our staff and Matt's group for helping us get that painted. Big thank you for that. And also, we finished up, had a turnout gear committee consisted of a engineer and firefighter, look at going through from each shift. And one of our lieutenants did the public safety chair, looking at doing our turnout gear. So we're waiting on 3 quotes on that. So that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Chief McCollum? Our station's looking good.
Thank you.
The new paint looks good as well. Mr. Floyd and I were discussing, I said, okay, we moved out of the eighties now, but there's. So thanks all involved with that little update.
Thank you.
All right. And we have clerk of court. Mr. Rado. He was fresh off of a huge family event for the weekend.
Huge, that's pretty.
Congratulations.
Good evening. As far as budget, we're below, on all our line items, as of today. We have been working, staff has been working pretty diligent on still going through all our back records and everything. We're starting to see some progress made. The only other thing that we're working on is, we're trying to implement an online payment option for people to pay, their traffic fines and tickets. So I've been talking to different third-party vendors that work with our software system. There would be no cost to us. That's all done through service fees for people who want to pay it online. So we're in the process of doing that.
Are you familiar, did you have that access at your prior
We
place?
did,
Okay.
yeah, we did. We did have that access. It was actually pretty convenient, especially.
Yes.
at this case.
I'm surprised we don't already have that, so thank you so much, because now, yeah, it's all about convenience and pretty good business license online now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then basically what happens is there's a link online where you can go directly to make that payment. People also get notification. It's really easy process.
Great, thank you for those updates. Any questions? All right. Yeah. Chief Miller.
James, Mr. Allgood. We're good on the budget. We're in the negatives though on the non-capital, just because we had a grant that sort of heralded applied for that wasn't budgeted, so it was put in non-capital and we'll be doing budget later on with that. Harley and Margo are doing fine. They're back at work. Margo's like nothing ever happened. So, Captain Boyd had her surgery. She's recovering well, and she should be back to work soon. Had a complaint about vehicles in yards on the inner neighborhood off of North Main and one off of Forester. The codes officer working on that and on getting that taken care of. Just recap a couple of things that were in the weekly report. All Explorer went to Gatlinburg and got second place in domestic violence and third place in hostage negotiation. Tomorrow night we'll be going to the American Red Cross in Greenville, and Officer Neal going to be out there for doing CPR on a non-responsive person with resuscitating. We also received another award for National Night Out for all of Corporal Madden's hard work. And then Corporal Madden, for all the stuff he's done, was nominated and selected for Officer of the Year. And then our records clerk and our victim advocate tied for Employee of the Year, because they both came in and pretty much had to learn it on their own, and they're both doing phenomenal jobs. Other than that, that's all I have. If y'all have any questions?
Have those awards already been presented?
No, ma'am,
Okay.
so we can do that, and also I'd like to bring the explorers and so y'all can see them for council.
Fantastic program on both sides, fire and police. I know they historically have always got rewards and or awards when they go out of town to compete. So glad to see they're keeping that tradition up.
Right, and this is a newer group, and there's not too many veterans on there, so it's a lot of newer cadets, and they haven't had the competition since COVID, the one in Gatlinburg. And for them to come together and do what they did in that short amount of time was
So it kind of makes a little extra because they're, being a new group. All right, let Captain Boyd know that we're all thinking about her. And I think you and I discussed that last week, so
Right.
I'm glad she's doing well. Any questions for Chief McClure?
Just a minor, Explorer, what's the age?
It's 14 to 21, like 21 the age out.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chief. Yeah, we've got some routine on the agenda tonight, but pretty hefty agenda. Guess that's what we get for being off last month, right? Okay, so first up, we have the school resource officer agreement amendment, which is pretty routine with the exception of we're adding the grant for the 2 additional officers, correct?
Yes, ma'am. What is basically, we have 4 officers, 2 at the high school, 1 in middle school, and 1 over on the current agreement. We were awarded the grant for 2 more officers, so basically all that will be doing is adding the 2 more officers to the elementary school.
Which is great. I know since I've been on council, this is, and councils prior to, it's always been a goal to have these additional officers at all of the school and cutting down on that, on the going back and forth into one that has to share a view. So we're one short, we're almost there. So
Yes, we'll still have somebody check on the career center, but we applied for that grant. And we'll likely get that.
right, that's excellent.
This time I'd like to make a motion to approve or extend to full council the amended agreement from school resource officers with Greenville County.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or questions for Chief Miller related to this topic? All right, all those in favor of forwarding to full council the amended agreement for school resource officers, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Okay.
And that's all you have. All right. Next up, page 13 of your packet, we have the Mauldin Fire Department Mutual Aid Agreement, which is a routine agreement that we forward to council to approve on an annual basis. So Chief's at the podium if anybody has any questions. Otherwise.
This time I'd like to make a motion to send to full council the mutual aid agreement for Greenville County Fire Services.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Oldham. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of awarding the mutual aid agreement for Greenville County Fire Service to full council, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, moving right along, we do have a few things that won't be immediate priority. This might be one of them. So in front of you, you have the stewardship renewal contract amendment for as it relates to the construction of the new fire station. As I understand it, there was a get my notes straight here. We had budgeted $7,500 in the contract for travel, and they are expecting to exceed that limit and have asked for an additional $3,500, not to exceed a total of $11,000. So that's in a nutshell what this agenda item is. So if there's any further questions related to this, I know Chief McCollum would be glad to fill that for you. Or, Mr. Duncan.
So the original language did not specify not to exceed.
The original language did, and but last year they had submitted due to a higher than expected number of permits, review submissions, and associated printing costs. They've now reached that limit. I believe the last invoice were at $7,400. And in order to get the rest of the contract completed, they'll need to up that to $3,500 to account for the remaining travel until August.
And what would be the implications if we didn't approve this?
I imagine they would just stop coming and fulfilling the terms of their contract.
I guess a little bit from that.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion, to send full council, we have to be authorized to execute a contract with Stewart Cooper Renewal. To increase the reimbursement allowance not to exceed $11,000.
Thank you, Mr. Craylon. Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of forwarding the Stewart Cooper Renewal Contract Amendment 1 to full council, say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, it's smart tonight. Next item is the fire station tap fee. It's just a little bit more than $3,000. I trust that you all have read through what was available in the packet. So this was one of those fees that was not included in the total contract price. There's been some discussion as to some thought they may have remembered it. I have no recollection of that conversation or seeing it anywhere. And I know Mr. Duncan's gone back and checked all the bond lines and agrees with that statement. So unfortunately, there's no discounts and we're on the hook for the tap fee.
Sound like make a motion to for the council here. Full council to authorize to send full council for authorization $46,326.13. Let me start this and I'll apologize. This time I make a motion to approve, to send to full council for approval, the payment of $46,326.13 to Cloverleaf for the water and sewer tap fees for the fire station.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Allgood. Any other questions or concerns at this time?
I would just issue the same question. If we don't do it, what happens?
Fire station without water?
This is a service that's already incurred, and we actually did ask Cloverleaf for the actual invoices. And then we received those today. And so the invoices they sent us reflects a direct payment that they made to Greenville Water and to REWA for these services. And we did find that although we were thinking initially we'd pull the funds from the general fund capital fund balance, there is an allowance in the contract for $100,000 for owner contingencies. And with that, we have an unassigned balance of $27,190. So theoretically, we could cover a good portion of this from those funds. However, we didn't want to necessarily say and commit it through that vehicle just yet, because something else may come up that we're not aware of. So we do see that there's at least a ability to cover about $27,190 from the existing contract, which would reduce the amount that we would need to pull from fund balance to satisfy this invoice.
So are you saying that we had allocated $100,000 for basically miscellaneous expenses that we didn't have, and we've already used up to that
We have,
$7,000 left?
yes. So we had an owner's contingencies of 181,000, with 100 of that going towards project contingency, basically construction cost, and the other 81,000 for rock and unsuitable soil allowance. And so of those two, the construction or the project contingency is what's unassigned is 27,190. The assignables are in that list of items that was provided as owner's items, possible owner's items. Many of those charges were end up being applied to the contingency line item. And so not all of them, though. Some of them were done in kind by our own public works department. So, and then there were some modifications made to, one was a lighting system. So that way, when the trucks pulled out of the fire station, there would be an automatic light system that would stop oncoming eastbound traffic, so they don't run into our trucks. And then there was an HVAC modification. I actually have the list here. So it's been, sorry, sir, what was it?
I remember the issues.
Okay, so, but yeah, so there's an unassigned balance of 27,190. So we think we could probably use some of that for this as well, but we didn't want to say that definitively until we've had another chance to talk to Cloverleaf about all this and make sure there's not anything else that I'm not knowledgeable of that we may have already decided to use some of that money towards. So I just wanted to, fund balance was the balance of last resort. And if we can figure out a different way for it, we will, but yeah.
And you've had additional conversations. You've had additional conversations with Cloverleaf to hopefully figure out any other costs that we may have missed.
So as far as I'm concerned, my understanding goes, this is the only extraordinary cost that's outstanding. Everything else would be covered under the guaranteed maximum price, which is the contract that we have. There was just this list of possible owner items, and of this list, there's nothing outstanding here that I can tell. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And Mr. Alkett, I will, add that out of that project contingency, 27,000-ish. Mr. Duncan, he shared that with me last week, and I'm in agreement from a budget standpoint. I think it's best at this time just to pull up from that capital fund. And, you know, if there's a surplus over there, that's great, but that's an unknown because we're still several months out. So just to keep it clean from the accounting, you know, I'll hang on to that. The accounting standpoint, I think that's a smart move just to fund it out of that general fund capital or that capital fund. All right, so I have a motion, Mr. Crayley, and a second from Mr. Allgood to forward to full council the staff recommendation of approving the payment in the amount of $46,326.13 to Cloverleaf from the capital fund balance for the fire station tap fees. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. All right. So we have the municipal judge reappointment on page 22. It's a pleasure to have you with a couple items tonight.
So yeah, basically we're just looking to do 2-year appointments for the SC Court Administration and the city ordinance. The appointments are to be not less than 2 years, not more than 4 years. I think 2 years would be good. This way we can kind of keep a handle on the changes and growth in the city in 2 years of everything we could. We keep it the same. If not, then we can revisit how the appointments are structured. I did speak with all the judges and they're all happy and satisfied with the positions that they're in and looking to be reappointed. So, you know.
And again, this is another item that's a routine thing that comes around. I guess every 2 years, sometimes if we have someone to set down, we have to do another appointment.
Yes, at that appointment, they would come in and just step in for the remaining of that 2 years.
Make a motion to forward to full council the reappointment of the judges as stated in this document.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Allgood. Are there any further questions or concerns for this time? Yes, sir, Mr. Allgood.
This one, I know Mr. Putman filled in, is it this will be a new thing for him?
Yes, but we would be interested in just stay on, instead of go to the orientation training, and get a certification so that he's in-house, so in case if I'm not here or if I'm at detention and they should be search warrant or something, he's readily available, they can run upstairs and do, but he wouldn't be on like the actual rotation schedule.
Great, I think that's
And I
great.
think even last week, there may have been something that happened that where we were able to utilize Mr. Putnam as, because he was the only one in the building, so from an 8 to 5 standpoint, it works. He seems to kind of like it. All right, we have a motion and a second, to forward to full council the municipal judge reappointments for a 2-year term. All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed, the motion carries unanimously. All right, and up next, we have, the recommendation for an additional weekend judge appointment. And, it's outlined in your packet. I think this is a great idea. We have someone who's experienced and is willing to come to Mauldin and have served in this capacity. If you'd like to
Yes.
fill in the blanks there.
So this can has no fiscal impact since the weekend admin judges are paid for the days that they're scheduled and come in. It's good just to have in case of vacation, illness. Judge Stinson worked with me in TPK. I was actually her judge mentor also. We worked side by side, worked really well together. So I'm very familiar with her work. And her professionalism, and she is going to come out on the weekends that she's scheduled, so. And again, she's certified, she doesn't take with all her CLE credit, she's in good standing with the SC Bar Association.
That's right, and sometimes it's hard to find qualified folks and especially to work those weekend hours. So again, another positive move in my opinion and potentially another great addition to staff.
Like to make a motion for full council, the appointment of Erica Stinson. That's that correctly, as administrative judge.
All right, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions, concerns, otherwise? I'm looking at you, Mr. Allgood, in your hand.
Let's say one thing, that's something in my head, you want me to say it?
You ahead, you're on a roll.
All right. Just for clarification, for transparency purposes, the fact that she worked with Mr. Stinson, she did go through a proper channel of interviews to be selected.
Yes, job was posted and I answered.
Right, thank you.
I'm afraid you're gonna ask, what if we didn't?
All right, so we have a motion and a second to board of full council, the recommendation to appoint Erica Stinson as the part-time administrative judge for a 2-year appointment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed, motion carries. That wasn't too hard. Thank you. All right, we got through that pretty quickly. Back to public comment. Seeing none, committee concerns. Seeing none, I think Mr. Allgood, we're all good. These all other words for now, maybe. What do we have on the tournament?
So move.
Sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned at 6:54. Thank you, staff and committee. Oh, well.
You're on, man.
You're fine.
That's the meeting.
Good night, sir. See you tomorrow. Okay.
6:30.
Yes. Do you know where that's at?
Yeah.
Top of the stripy building? Yeah, just parking Lady Street Garage. Yeah, we'll see you there. All right.
It's good.
I'd like to call to order the Public Works Committee. Myself, Carl Kenny. Mr. Reynolds is not going to be here today due to a conflict. And we have the city administrator and Mr. Cleveland. As well. All right, it is 6:55 roughly.
Yes.
All right, call to order. All right, first of all, any public comments? Nothing online?
No, sir.
Okay. Reading and approval of minutes, all right.
Motion to approve as submitted.
Second. All those, any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The next item here. Some reports of, reports, Mr. Twain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this point in the year, we're supposed to have approximately 41% of our budget remaining. In all my divisions, with the exception of sanitation, we are about 41%. Sanitation, we're at 36%. The shortcomings, once again, oil, fuel, and landfill fees. Little we can do about that. We'll just plan accordingly for the next budget.
Your lemon lamp, yeah, lemon and leaf.
Yes, so historically, the public works has used the Jenkins facility for the intermediate laydown, so. Like trucks that keep going and we can't haul it off, load it, haul it off. With the impending sale of the property on the 20th. We've been working with a lot of other departments that have used the Jenkins or building or either from storage. Particularly if tomorrow we want to come out, we're having a throwaway party for all the stuff in our building. But we've transitioned away from using the Jenkins facility, and so we're modifying the facility East Standing Springs to accommodate in the lower back corner. We're just going to push the fence back and extend the concrete pad. And we expect to do all this work in house, and it shouldn't be any expenditure of the city.
And the next item is the, are any questions? The next item is the East Butler Road sewer reallocation.
Yes, so as part, I come up in committee and talked about this before, I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth here. As part of the paving project on East Butler Road, DOT requires that all utilities be relocated in accordance with the utilities accommodation manual that it passed in 2020. The manual specifies that all pipes be removed from underneath the roadway and put into the right of way. Circumstances when that's not possible, the specification of the pipe has to meet materials, rigidity, manholes can't be going in traffic. There are certain criteria. We went out the week of Christmas. We did basically a sanitary sewer evaluation survey of the whole Butler Road corridor. We worked with Fraser, well now it's CHA Incorporated, and we surveyed the roadway, manholes, pipe inverts. That's the depth from grade to pipe leaving the manhole. And once we got all that done, we basically took our design of the existing sewer at all the depths to the middle here. And we superimposed that on the DOT design. Any point where the DOT's design indicates conflict, like a proposed stormwater pipe going through the manhole, that right there is a point of, it's called a point of conflict. And so what we had to do at that point was, knowing that the DOT is just going to say, sorry, our storm pipe is going to be there, we had to basically redesign from that point out where those points of failure are and redesign the whole corridor outwards. Now, with a lot of utilities that what they used to agree the water is very easy because depth and grade don't matter. The sewer, everything, it's all flowing based on gravity, you have that 2% grade. So there's a lot of stipulations in the design. When we finalize the design, there's a great deal of the sewer system that's gonna have to be relocated. Conservatively, you're looking at a cost of about $4 million. Now, in accordance with the utilities accommodation manual, 4% of the project cost will set aside to assist with the relocation of small municipalities, which we have to be. And in the case of this project, that's roughly give or take $800,000, which means we're still in the hook for $3.2 million for the sewer relocation.
When does this have to be completed by?
Well, that's a good question. The designs are due by May. So we went ahead and did ours early and, engineers from Fraser and myself are gonna be meeting with the DOT. Because from my experience with Greenville Water, there's always a little negotiation. We can get them to move a few of their storm pipes that drastically change the cost that we'd be on the hook for. We're looking to have those meetings this month and see what we can get done. Once all the utility relocation plans are submitted in May, the DOT is gonna review everything and they'll let the project, which means that you're good to go with utility relocation in December. So we'd be looking at,
This new budget.
this new budget. So we're gonna do everything within our power to bring that value down. But like I said, I brought this to you before, I wanna continue bringing it to you so you're aware. These are just expenditures that there's no way out of it. And we're gonna do everything in our power to find resources to get it done. But I just don't want it to be shelved down.
Appreciate that.
Like better to know now and.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna be knocking on the door, doing everything I can to negotiate. Because, some of their designs, I change it, but I mean. They have, on a few places, 46-inch pipe. Going down Butler Road, crossing, yeah, like enormous, like you can walk inside.
Yeah, what would you run in there?
It's storm pipes.
Just storm
Storm pipes. That's their design of the storm water system is excessive. Especially since Butler never flood.
Yeah.
And then there's an existing system there that has 24-inch pipe, now they're gonna double or more than double the size of the storm water system.
Oh, do your best.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions?
No,
Yep.
no, I appreciate that, Dave. Yeah, we knew that was coming.
New business. Public work parking lot.
All right, what you have before you is a request to authorize a contract between Pancake Paving and the city of Mauldin for the repaving of the public works parking lot. We sent out an RFQ to pave the parking lot. And when I say the parking lot, you look at the public works facility, we're not paving everything. We're paving the stuff outside the fence. So around the administrative building, employee parking. Basically, everything you see that doesn't have trash trucks or excavators from the road. So everything outside of the fence. The capital budget, we allocated $202,000 for this project during this fiscal budget. We sent out an RFQ in November. Didn't get enough responsible bids. We reposted it in December. We did a little legwork and we got a sufficient number of bidders. We got together RFQ review committee standard. Everyone reviewed the RFQs independently, scored them appropriately. We met all the guys together, had the scores. And the highest score is Panagakis, which is what we're recommending for the contracts. As mentioned before, but capital expenditure was $250,000. The lowest bid, Panagakis, was $269,000. I've worked with finance and city administrator, and we feel that the overage could be pulled from sewer funds.
Motion to board full council, the repayment of the public work parking lot contract for the Panhandle for the amount of $269,823.
Second.
Quick question, so you've already answered it pretty much, so Holly's okay with pulling, there's nothing wrong with pulling, or Mr. Duncan would pull that from
It
you?
was her.
I'm sorry?
It was her.
Yeah, we had an ending fund balance from the audit of $500,000, and we could pull from the sewer fund, we could pull from the capital fund balance. It's kind of one way or the other, but yeah, either's fine, but yeah.
And I'm fine with the sewer, I just wanted to make sure that
Yes,
Holly
ma'am.
gave her blessings and she gave yours,
She did,
that,
yes.
which I knew that was most likely the case, but I had to ask.
He was on RFQ review committee.
Right.
I'm glad it's asphalt, not concrete, I didn't see what that would be. Asphalt, I know. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Brown, thank you.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, guys have it, move on, the next item is sale, what is it, Dan?
So what you have before you is a request to move forward with listing sale of old equipment. You know, in accordance with the city policy, authorization to sell equipment follows the city administrator and the city council. For the last few years, you guys know you got me a lot of nice new trucks, and a lot of nice equipment. We have those old bangers, so they're still there, you know, the 1990 trucks that are, you know, barely street legal. So we want to go ahead and get rid of those and get those off the lot. We don't keep the listing is attached to the agenda. We're not selling anything, we don't need it. This is all stuff that's basically sitting there and one trash truck or somebody else order it on my staff. The moment doesn't have, you know, it's.
All right,
And but like we'll be using gov deals just like every other, in accordance with the regulation of state law on city auction and city property. And the revenue will be added to the city's general fund. The intention of the people in Holly, you know, we've been using the attempts of meeting the sidearm for recycle. The sale of equipment will be a revenue line to cover the expenditure of the tent.
This is an agenda item I'd like to see. You've done an excellent job in the past with getting rid of and bringing a little bit of revenue to the city, so kudos on that. With that, Mr. Carroll, I'd like to make the motion to board the full council, the staff recommendation for the to approve the sale of old and damaged equipment in the public works department.
second. Any discussion? All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those like sign, guys have it, on to the next item, KCI task order one.
Right, what you have before you is an amendment to KCI task order one, for stormwater project. Task order one included design projects on known areas around the city where flooding tends to be an issue. We'll be working with the city administrator. All those reports have been completed. They lay out financial cost estimates. And we're going to come up with some format to present these reports to you. I don't know if we're going to bring in KCI, we'll do an executive session or committee or even a council. We'll bounce some ideas around and get a format that's appropriate. There were other portions of task order one that haven't been completed. In particular, it's public meetings and then a flooding and erosion assessment report. These two items are basically going to be assessed later in the stormwater master plan, which is already covered under task order two. So based on my request, to remove it from task order one, it reduces the total cost of task order one by $25,000 and allow KCI to close out that task order. So we just won't be expending the full amount of which was council committee approved.
Mr. Carroll, I'd like to make a motion to forward to full council the staff recommendation to approve the amendment to task order 01 with KCI.
Second, any discussion? No, that, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, guys have it, we'll move on to the second, order number two.
All right, what you have before you is an amendment to KCI task order number two for stormwater design services. Task order number two included stormwater asset inventory, on-call GIS services, stormwater modeling, grant assistance, and a citywide stormwater master plan. As part of the enterprise asset management system implementation that we needed to do for the sewer and for streets and other components of public works, the GIS abilities were taken on by me in the public works department. And because of that,
The request is to remove the GIS services from the task order, because it's an itemized line in there. $10,500. I do all the GIS, so we don't need to pay that. So we can strike that line. The next portion of the task order 2 is the stormwater master plan. Work on that hasn't proceeded as of yet. We're waiting for the inventory to be complete. And the city is also waiting a response to know if it will be funded under the BRIC 2021 FEMA grant. There were more or less things Mr. Madden applied for before his departure. It was a joint effort between City of Mauldin, City of Mauldin. And that money will get discussed before we get a task order to the committee and council. Was basically to offset the expenditure, within our funds. But the bulk of the change here to task order number 2 is we've been working to complete the assessment of stormwater inventory. That assessment involves opening up every catch basin, surveying all the pipe inverts, all the pipe sizes, and mapping everything out. We've done, I don't know, so I'd say maybe 25–30% of the system. And it turns out there's significantly more stuff out there than was anticipated. Because, we want to driveway pipes, we want ditches, we want to know where it goes off the right of way. It very quickly has become apparent that the conglomerate system that we have here within the city is larger than what was anticipated when we undertook this task. Now, moving forward, if we really want to work on stormwater and address issues, stormwater is a complex matrix where you just can't fix something on this person's property. It involves upstream and downstream. In order to really do any kind of meaningful stormwater work, that the stormwater master plan inventory has to be mapped. And we sat down and we came up with what it's going to cost to finish, and that cost to finish will be $165,000. Now, with the $25,000 that we use from passport 1, the $10,000 from GIS services, that brings that number down. But it is an expenditure of what was originally recommended for this task order. And so what I'm asking for is us to move forward to finish the stormwater inventory at the increased cost of $165,000, less obviously the $35,500 for reducing other services in the contract.
Mr. Chair, I made a motion to forward full council the staff recommendation to approve the amendment to task order 02 with KCI.
Second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mauldin, will this will still be funded through the ARPA funds?
Yes, so we're well,
You're right.
What's that?
I said, you're doing it right, so that's what it takes.
Yes. It is. Never know.
Make it exciting somehow, telling us about it.
So hatchet.
And it's appreciated. Thank you.
That's what I was in that, so. And that, any other? And that, those in favor of, supporting the civil council, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And then I move on to public comments. Any public comments?
Yes, sir.
Comments, committee concerns.
Yes. So,
Speaking of being on a roll.
So,
Please and.
Public Works Department and the BDF Department have been dealing with a proposed development, and we need some direction. All right, now it's a little bit complicated. All right. So at the corner of Ashmore Bridge and Ranch Road, there's a parcel. It was annexed into the city of Mauldin when we were doing the annexation to get the money for it. When we did the annexation agreement stipulated that Metro Connect would be the sewer provider. Everyone was fine with that. Well, The development, which is gonna be 90 townhomes on this property. It turns out that, there's no way that they could connect to Metro Sewer and conversely Mauldin Sewer without the installation of a pump station. Now, Metro Connects have looked at it and said, well, we don't allow pump stations less than 100 homes. So, you know, they should go to Mauldin. All right, so if it was to go to Mauldin, David and I would have to amend the annexation agreement because that's stipulated in our intergovernmental agreement with Metro Connects. So we have to go through the committee and council to amend the annexation agreement. And then on top of that, it still has to go back to the planning commission. It went to the planning commission in October, November, and it was denied because they hadn't figured out sewer and a few other erroneous items. So, but before that they could even be approved by the planning commission, city council needs to decide whether or not that you want another pump station. And so basically, David and I are looking for some direction in regards to how do you guys want us to present this? You know, there's a lot of man hours involved to get all this stuff to fall into place. And it's all for naught if you guys have zero interest in another pump station. If we do another pump station, we're gonna have to do another ordinance to put the fees on their tax bill. Well, there, you know, like I said, there's a lot of work that we're gonna have to do to get this in place. But if there's no desire for it.
So I'm gonna ask what Frank would ask you here, what if we didn't do
Nothing.
And they go on their merry way.
it? I mean, they would, I mean, could they potentially then, would they say 100 houses yet?
Not 90 townhomes.
No, but how many did they have to have for Metro Connect? 100 plus. They have to come up with 10 more.
And it would still be, sorry, I'm not on the microphone.
You can come right ahead.
It would still have to at some point receive planning commission approval for the subdivision of the property, so. While they may find a solution that addresses Metro Connect and be able to jump on their system. There's no guarantee that the planning commission would approve the development at that point still.
How much land is that there?
12 acres.
I gotta think on that one. Could we have them say we can have some conversations afterwards just to think on this and kind of like pull the map up, kind of look at it.
Matthew and I are in no rush.
Okay.
Like I said, all we're looking for a vote, we're asking, you know, you can send us some direction, just give us some direction on how you want us to approach this. Both David and I haven't actually gone through the process of getting a pump station into the city. You know, Indigo Point was already,
No,
the ball was rolling when David was still in economic development, and I was at Greenville Water. You know, before that, you had the retreat in your original, like the 80s or 90s, so we don't know.
yeah, I mean, personally, I'd like to think on that, I don't. I'd like to think on that.
Yes.
You know, get back to you.
Mr. Chair, if we could, what we'll do is we'll circle around, make sure we fully kind of line out all the contingencies and things to think about. And then that way bring it back to council or the committee next month. Hopefully Ms. Reynolds will be able to join us and then have a full discussion of all the different parameters that will come into fruition and at least have that information delivered to the committee prior to the meeting in the packet. So we'll have a more fruitful discussion at that point. Yeah.
Now, with that, Mr. Curley, I think that's valid, needs more time, but I think my concern would not only be the pump station, but the 12 acres and the 90 townhomes and in an already overpopulated area, so there's a lot more concern, in my opinion, other than a pump station. So,
I do not disagree with that, but that's what I wanted to kind of think on it, not. Take a look at it, looking at the big picture, not just the. And with the pump station, there's a lot of after repair as well. So
Everything mechanical will fail. And the rule, the Cleveland rule is it will fail at like 1 o'clock in the morning, never during the workday. It's
When it's 20 degrees outside.
You gotta hurry up before they start showering.
And I do have a question, notice the, and maybe this is something that on a sidebar, but the need for that pump station, is it the volume of the 90 townhomes, or is it just that place that you have options?
it's simple topography. It's here, our sewer is here.
That's what I'm looking for.
And then the next question is that, a lot of times you look at a pump station and be like, well. Can that existence of that pump station leverage future development? And in this case, it doesn't. It's completely unlocked by other neighborhoods. It would serve this neighborhood solely to the end of time.
Probably very expensive, neighborhood as well. About $30,000 every so many years. They just retrofit all that. Anyway, so just think about and talk about it offline. All right, on that, any other committee concerns? All right, with that, what do I hear in German?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.
Once a talking point.
Oh.
I thought someone was gonna argue with me here, not you two.
I just have